working. Haha. Alright, we are live. We are live. Livey live. Live action. Whatever you want to call it. Where was I? Now that I'm live. Forgot where I was. What I was going to talk about. You know? I think I wanted to talk a little bit about the control system. You know? I think we can all agree that there are people that belong to different groups. And we can all blame a specific group if we want. That's fine. Because I'm sure whatever group that you would like to think it is, it also is. And there are many of them. But let's take it back in history. Okay? And let me pull this up just in case. I don't want to play it there. Let me just make sure everything's running okay here. But, we look at history, right? And these control systems. And I want to take it back to not even that far back. Let's take it back to the beginnings of America. Let's take it back to the early immigrants. Let's include New France and the Louisiana Purchase territory, you know, the Louisiana territory. Take it back to those days. And maybe let's call it from the late 1500s to mid 1700s. Okay? Now, when people came over, okay, and when we want to read about that information, oftentimes that information comes from journals, registrars, that priest made, that Jesuit priest made, and other priests, missionaries, okay, even sometimes information on the nuns. Nuns came over too. Records were often first made by these missionaries, whether they were Catholic, Protestant, you name it, okay? And when you look into it, when you read some of these journals, you find out how the societies were controlled. You know, they would come to this area, right? And it wasn't just often, you know, one family, you know. They came over in groups, okay? Where they were coming from France, England, Ireland, wherever they came from. They came in groups. Which, back then, you kind of had to, you know. They, in their minds, they considered many of the Native Americans brutal, whatever, via the propaganda that was going on at the time. So they didn't just come over by themselves. In some cases, it did happen, but they came over in groups, okay? And often these groups were led by a priest, okay? And back then, it was often a Jesuit priest. And they were the missionaries. And, you know, so they would sell and start building a town. And they revolved around the church. Everything kind of revolved around the church. You know, that was the meeting house. That's what they used to call them, basically. The meeting house was basically the same thing as the church. It's where everything from politics, the local politics went on, to you name it. Okay? That was the original town hall was the church. And the original president of these new colonies was the head priest, was the you know, the religious person in charge at that point in time. And if you read some of these journals, you'll learn that some of them have ties to what would be considered Masonic or different secret societies. And yes, I am being careful today still on my live show because Jerry's still not allowed to, you know, be like the rest of the shills, and he, you know, can't do what they can do because, you know, he's not one of them. So I can't show you all kinds of stuff, which still amazes me that man, if I show you one thing from somebody else's YouTube channel or from, you know, a website or anything, excuse me, Blizzy, I get struck down. But other people can do it all day long. I always find that funny. To me, that's just whatever. But anyways, let's get back to the priest and what would happen. And a lot of times you could draw this conclusion just from reading their journals, because they weren't always exactly specific, but they would lead to this situation happening, right? So let's just take for instance, let's call, pick a town, pick a random town. Let's call Hartford, Connecticut, okay? You know, the Connecticut colony, okay, which broke up into many different colonies and went all the way out to Ohio. But let's look at the formation of a city. And I'm not saying this went on in Hartford or anything else, but things like this went on in similar cities and even in cities near there. So anyways, you get a priest and you get the colony of people, you get your group of people, right? So you might have 5 families, you know, 6 families, 7 families. And, you know, one family has, you know, some cousins and whatnot. Now, all of a sudden, that family grows. People have kids. Well, it's not too long before kids turn into that age where they're hormonal, right? You know, they go through that sexual stage. And wait a second, there's not a lot of pickings. So the next thing you have is cousins. You know, you have a little cousin problem, right? So the priest will see, hey, Ray, we got a problem here. They understand enough about history to know that the same blood could cause problems and this and that and everything else. So they separate the families. They'll say, hey, we're going to need some of you, part of this family from the Hartford colony is going to stay here. And the other part is going to go down to New Haven or New Jersey, right? Or Pennsylvania. So now they split up that family, okay? There's less of a problem. That takes care of that point in time cousin problem. Now, if those churches or those priests are in communication with another priest that's, you know, in charge of another group, they can compare notes. Well, you got family A, B, C, D, E. I got G, F, you know, so on. Why don't we send them to that area? Because it's okay if they mix a little bit and we can, you know, control it that way. So there's a jive to these bloodlines. And the priests almost control it by where they're sending people and everything else. Okay? And we know this went on. I mean, if you read these old journals, it's a fact that this stuff went on. But you also read in these journals that you see how they're tied to these different societies and everything else. And you have to go back to, all right, what controls us? You know, and if the priests are linked by these secret societies, okay, and the priests kind of were like, I don't know, directors as far as pushing people here and there, they had a lot to do with the control of that society. And they still do. Because you could see that the church still has a direct, you know, they still kind of group people in and say, hey, you know, everybody go to this, you know, dinner over here to support this, to support that, you know, and that's direction. And that's how these secret societies do it. Whether it's the secret society or the church itself, what they do is they direct society through influence, through groupthink, and everything else. And this is what has gone on for a very long time. Now, they recognize the internet as something that's almost outside of their box that they had contained people in, okay? Because you think about it, right? A lot of times people grew up in their colony, right? Through the ages. You know, my grandfather was from here, his grandfather was from here, and his grandfather was from here, right? Sometimes they moved around and whatnot. And sometimes families would run into each other and not even know it, and bing, bang, boom, because a lot of times, you know, the priest would, you know, change a name just a little bit or whatnot. If they didn't know how to spell or whatnot, when they moved to a new area, they might have misspelt their own name when they got to it. And so things changed throughout time. And, you know, that's what happened. But as people were in their colony, okay, they never really understood how controlled they were. With the internet, the colony kind of went worldwide, okay? And I think they understand this to the point where they needed to get everybody back into groups. You know, they got to isolate people. They almost got to create groups, whether it's, you know, Flat Earth or the Christian group or the Ancient Alien group or the whatever group. They have to get everybody into these to group thing. You know, the mega people against the liberals. They got to, and they oftentimes reward people for even exposing them if they're getting people into these groups. You know, if you're exposing all these liberals and, you know, you're promoting that mega, right? They're going to promote you, right? And even in the opposite, you know, if you're exposing all the mega people and you're liberal, they're going to promote that by also making it look like they're giving you a hard time, but yet they still allow you to go through with things and do things that, like, basically I can't do. So we understand how a lot of this stuff works. We understand how the control works. We understand why. There's even a tough battle, I think, for me to go along with is should this happen? Should it not happen? I don't know. That's a good question. You know, because people don't always seem like they can control themselves, right? But then you have to take into account that their own ignorance, their own stupidity is because of the way they were taught, which goes back to these groups, because these groups, whether they're religious or secret society, are behind everything that happens in society. And that's a tough one. It's a tough one because you see so many people where it's just like, you know, maybe they do need a leash on them. And I think my biggest problem is the people that, once you find out who some of these people are that do this, right? And I'm not going to discuss which events people are involved in because that will get me kicked off pretty fast. But, you know, when you come across who these people are, okay? The people, I want to call them mid-level, okay? The middlemen in all this, because I've seen enough of the super echelon of the priest class and come to realize some of them aren't totally horrible. There are some that are horrible. But when it comes to the middleman, which are oftentimes basically lawyers, whether you have somebody that's participating in a event, I think you know what I'm talking about, I'm not going to get specific, there's a lawyer usually involved, okay? You know, they take care of different things to make sure they get the money to do, you know, to legalize this, to, you know, get people stuck up into that or whatever the situation is. And the people that work with them, including the police, are the most corrupt, evil thieves on the planet. I want to make that clear. These people are corrupt. I've seen politicians involved in the drug trade, okay, which I could prove. I've seen lawyers involved in the drug trade, major drug trade, that I can prove. It goes beyond just being involved in these events. I've seen these people do some evil things And that's my problem, is they do these evil things without conscience or understanding that it's wrong. Okay? Or if they do understand it's wrong and they're still doing it, it's scary to even think that. Okay? I'd rather think that they're just ignorant to what's right and what's wrong in this world, and they're just basically psychopaths, because them being conscious and enjoying doing it and hurting people would take it to a level of, holy crap, it's time for us to fight, which it actually in theory is, because I think, you know, here's the trouble. When we learn about these secret societies, all right, no matter who they are, they always advertise, you know, going back to Madame Blavatsky, nothing higher than truth, and these different quotes, and their pledge, their allegiance to the truth. Okay, that's a problem when they're never doing the truth. They're never living by the truth. When they're hurting people, being dishonest, and stealing from people. That's not about the truth. Okay? You got to think about it like this, right? There are shills out there that, you know, they don't know they're helping the system, okay? And they're taking money. And, of course, yeah, the CIA or different groups are going to promote that person, probably even send them some money so that they continue to, you know, help without knowing. But there's some that actually know that they have become liars for these people, and they're out there taking money. Okay, this is disturbing. I mean, you got to think about this behavior, because yeah, on one hand you have these people that are willing to take the money for taking part in deception. But the other part is you have people that are a part of this that are pushing these people to do that. Okay? Now, which is more evil? You know, I'm not sure. I think when it comes to evil, I always believe that evil is evil, and that's, you know, really doesn't matter which part of the evil you're taking place in. If you're taking part of the evil, you're evil. So either way, both sides are evil. But think about how truly disgusting it is to push people to deceive the public and even incentivize them to do so. Okay? That's a problem. You know, here's the thing, is if you're part of one of these secret societies, you know, you're going through your, what do they call them? I guess degrees or steps or whatever the frick they're doing at their Grand Poobah Lodge. How are they supposed to get to the very top if they accept deception, but the top of their society is supposed to be about truth? It can't. So, in theory, if that society, that fraternity, whatever one it is legitimate, they would have to reject the people that take part in the deception, but not knowingly let them know that if they do, they never make it any further. But I don't think that's going on, because that in itself, by allowing and promoting so much deception, makes their fraternity invalid, right? Makes it a lie and deception on the people. So, no matter, hey, for world peace, hey, what's going on? So, yeah, how can any of these fraternities actually be legitimate and honest? And that's why I've always wanted to appeal to some of these people that belong in them. It's like, how can you not see this? You know, it's like today, right? So this stuff is everywhere. And it made me laugh that nobody could... And forget this basic meme, and I can put this up here because it's a regular old meme. But James Wood put it up here, right? And it took 2 seconds. I saw what it is. And the 1717, okay? Now, why would James Woods, he puts up all kinds of stuff about supporting Trump and, you know, rarely this type of silly little thing. Why would he put it up? And not one person looked at it from that angle. Okay, I forget the answer is 17, but the point is the 1717. You know, we've been talking about Masons for forever, you know, and I'm beginning to even think that why are, you know, people that are teaching the gematria and everything bothering anymore, because these people can't learn it. I mean, the numbers sit there right in front of their faces, and it's like, you know, there needs to be 1 million. There would have to be 100 million, you know, teachers of the symbology out there for these people to even get it. And they'd have to be taking classes all day long because they're so ignorant and oblivious to what's right in front of their face. You know, I think majority of people are going to always say, oh, yeah, well, James Woods is an actor, and of course he's going to be a part of these societies and this and that, but he's here to support and help the movement. Yay. But unless you study what they're sitting there telling you who they are. They tell you who they are. And people just, they want to love their liars. You know, from Ike to Jones to you name it. They all tell you who they are. They do. But everybody refuses to freaking say, hey, wait a second. You know, it's funny. I was watching, I forgot, was it, you know, a video came up after I was watching one of my videos of Disclosure TV. All right? Banned from Empty Chat. I'm not sure what Empty Chat is. What is Empty Chat? I'm not even sure what Empty Chat is. Is that like somebody's channel? Oh, okay. Somebody's channel? All right. I've never heard of it. But I was going on how these people tell you who they are. Okay? And I'm watching this Disclosure TV thing, and I'm like, you know, this is kind of a silly story, but why are they telling it like it is? And I'm like, some of the history was interesting because it matches up with, you know, a lot of fraternity stuff that's going on. And all of a sudden, I see them scroll over this tombstone, right? And then I laugh because they don't even mention this stuff. And here's the thing is, it's right in front of people's face, okay? You know, forget about his name, okay? You could probably get really into all the name and everything else. But what's important here, okay, you see the Egyptian stuff, so that tells you something, right? That there's something more going on with this person, right? Sculptor, traveler, okay? When they talk about traveler, they're not talking about, you know, some guy that decided to go look at, visit his cousins somewhere, right? They're talking about when they're basically saying he was a Mason, okay, a traveler, and people don't even understand that. And I also see the interesting thing here is how these people that go over these videos don't even notice this. So they're either not awake or we know Disclosure TV is bullshit, right? We know that. We know they're there to give us what they want us to know, and that's that. But you got right here, born October 9th, okay? And we can get really into this, but let's just go over the basics. Well, October 9th, that's Jesus' birthday, right? I know many people don't understand that or know that, but my understanding of it, if Jesus actually existed, which there's no evidence really to prove that he did, that would be the date by all accounts that I've been able to figure out a timeline, okay? But here's the other thing. They're telling you right in there. Died 3rd March, so 3/3. You know, it's... So now we have to look at the story and go, well, did this guy even exist? Did they pop up this headstone to fit into some other grander scheme that actually went on with that whole, you know, thing and everything else to be one of their stories over the ages? But if we don't question these things, you know, what's going on? We have to question these things because these people are the same people that have been giving us this, deception forever. It says, I have warnings on my posts, so he fears me. Oh, who's that? Oh. This is, yeah, I never even heard of Empty Chat, if that's a, whatchamacallit. You know, I think, was it last time you were here? I had some. You had some warnings. I don't fear it. I was just joking last time. You know, that it would flash up a warning, but yeah. I don't fear anybody. That's one thing. I don't fear. You know, the only thing I fear is people not doing anything. That's what I fear the most. I fear the hell out of people not doing anything. You know? And it sucks. It sucks. Because, you know, I think people have too much faith that good will come. And it's not there. If you look at the history of the world, those people don't exist in high positions. You know? In theory, the only way, you know, we'll ever have peace in this world is a true revolution. And where these people that are doing this deception are taught a lesson in front of the public, enough of a lesson that people decide they don't want that again, or they don't want to be a part of those things. That's the only way. Otherwise, we're basically screwed if people aren't willing to do that. You know, let's face it. It's the truth, right? Because, you know, these lawyers aren't going to quit that are involved in all this stuff, and we don't even have people hunting down the lawyers. They'll spend 1 million hours on the crisis actor, and not even understand what and who's really important behind the scenes. And not only that, is half the time they actually even give you the information about who's, you know, tied to these things, some of these lawyers and stuff like that. So I've seen it 1 million times. That's how I've gotten information. They don't even hide it, really. You just gotta look, you know? Look into who's represent. You know, it's not, oftentimes it's not the one that's representing the crisis actor, right? Which is basically just another actor. But it's the person that ordered that actor or that attorney or that's tied to that case. So, I mean, you know, you got to go one step further all the time. And if you don't do that, you know, what are you getting? What are you getting? You know, you're getting, you're getting the act. You're getting the act. You're not getting the criminal that, you know, ordered the act, because that criminal that ordered the act got contracted by what? Or was a part of this different group or whatever that wanted this, right? And that is like the key to get, you know? It's not your system. Because, oh, I was just joking. I was just joking with you. I was just, you know, that's all that was. That's all it was. That video went on too long anyways. It went on like an hour. I don't know. Well, it was like 50 minutes, 40 minutes, something like that. It was on for a long time. But, yeah. You know, the big joke was, you know, what I'd like to do is set up a couple people to do a live stream the next time we had a major false flag, right? And then each of us can have like little pieces of paper or something with numbers on it, you know, and we can review some of the things that were going on in the false flag, and we can rate, you know, the actor or the part of the event or whatever that they were doing, or the newscast. And I thought that would be kind of cool to do as a live stream. But there's no way I could get away with doing that. If I did something like that, man, I'd be banned before, you know, so freaking fast. And YouTube would just ban it right away. So I could never do something like that, you know. Which would be interesting to see if somebody actually steals my idea and does it, because then, you know, they're bullshit if they get away with doing it, you know. That would be, but I think it would be funny as heck. Just imagine, you know, crisis actor gets up and says something stupid. You can give him like a 10 or a 4 or whatever, you know, or you can see him laughing. Oh, I give him a 9 for laughing, you know, or whatever. It'd be funny, you know. The year of Parkland Posse, Metro Prosers, yeah. So, yeah. Speaking of like that whole interesting group, you know. I don't know if I want to get too far into it, but when I was speaking about the Connecticut colony and different things like that, you know, you can follow some of these colonies, right? And their Masonic ties through history. right? Why they have certain groups in certain areas. And half the time the people that are involved in these groups don't even understand their history. You know, not a really true understanding of their own history. They understand what they're taught. They understand the basics of, you know, they stick within the confines of what they're taught, which gets them absolutely nowhere with knowledge, you know? At least that's my opinion. I mean, how is it that, you know, I think Zach says, what is he makes up those shirts and hats that say, what is 47? You know, I like that kind of promotion because, I mean, really, if you think about it, I mean, why is it that you see that number all the time and Masons don't even recognize it? To me, that is amazing. Or like, you know, when I put the thing up, the little, you know, photo there of the guy there, and it say traveler and have the date with the 3-3 on it. You know, when we see stuff like that so many times, why don't people recognize that? You know, it's so often that you see the Mason deny that existence, and it's like they deny their own stuff. Now, are they just going through their basic rituals and when they go into their lodge and just reading stuff but not actually understanding it and learning it? I mean, that could be the case. You know, maybe their whole thing, you know, as they go through their degrees is just a form of brainwashing to a higher degree than what other people are on because they don't seem to understand this. Because I would think that when they see all these Masonic ties to Larry Silverstein and things like that, there should be some Masons going, wait a second, what did I join? Am I a part of a group that just did 9/11? Shouldn't they be concerned about that? The fact that you don't see any doing that, to me, is just amazing. You know, if I was a part of a group and all of a sudden I learned that group, you know, took part in killing all these people, starting wars, and, you know, demolishing buildings, you know, in a major city, I'd be like, hey guys, we're out of here. You know, we're not going to be part of this shit. This is wrong. But you don't see that. How do you not see that? You know, that scares me. You know, it scares me to death that you don't see that. You know, I don't know. Don't know what to say about that. Like I've said a million times, I just want, yeah, just one, you know, one important Mason to wake up and just say, you know, to themselves, why are all these connections to so many horrible things leading to here? Why? Because if it's not at one of these Masonic fraternities, that person should prove how it's not. Go out there and prove it. You know, they should come out on, you know, a YouTube video and say, hey, look, I know this says this and that, but what I did is prove that it is something else, and this is the answer. Instead, what they do is they say, oh, it's just a conspiracy theory. Oh, it's just silliness. You know, they don't give an alternative explanation. You know? I don't think most of them even understand their own histories. Brought up young with that purpose. One task. Yeah, that's true. Groupthink. Closed-minded small groups. You know? Brainwashing going on like we saw with that little cult down there in Panama. You know, I mean, what they're doing, you know, I still don't want to get too much into them because I want them to build up and spend a lot of money before I go after them. You know, I want to cost them money, You know, so let them build up, and then they can learn their lesson for all the deception that they've been a part of. You know, and some of them might not even. Not all, I think some of them are so brainwashed they may actually think they're doing good. Some of them may actually think they're doing good. Well, without even know. Like I said, how many times these people don't even really know what they're a part of. Don't even know. They don't know. They're too brainwashed. And that's sad. You want to feel sorry for them, but hey, yeah, you know, I mean, should there be forgiveness for ignorance? I don't know. They wouldn't give it to us if we were in a court of law, right? So why should we forgive them, right? It's only fair. You know, if you broke some law, right, and you walk in the court and go, "Oh, I didn't realize I was breaking the law," the judge would be like, "I don't care. You're going. Here's your fine. Here's your jail. Whatever." Right? That's what they would do to us. So their ignorance to, you know, what they're. I'm reconnected. Yeah, so it sounds like they're just screwing with me at this point. But I guess I'll close it there since they're screwing with me at this point. It probably clipped that whole important part I just talked about. I wouldn't doubt it because I've seen that before. When, you know, when the studio turns on and off, it clips like that little portion out. So when I replay it, it's going to clip out that good part. So what do? Talk about it again so that it clips it out again? I don't know. Maybe I'll just save it for BitChute where I don't get edited, you know? All right. Well, anyways, that's about it. It's all